Hey guys, this is Jacob Tutor showing off my game Between Two Worlds. It's a visual novel. I did this whole thing in RenPy. This is just a quick overview of what it is. The game itself is actually a love triangle sort of story. So this right here is your best friend. The main character's name is Noah. This is your best friend Misty right here. And then here on the left, this is Yumi. She is a foreign exchange student and like your other love interest. You guys have been friends, but she has feelings for you. Kind of comes out later in the game. So before we jump into the game, this is the credits page. It's pretty much just like the standard like layout. I just changed like some of the text and bolded some things. And I also included hyperlinks to all the individual pages. So it's just like an easier way for anyone who's interested, like where I got the art or whatever. Super easy way to just pop right there to the profile of the people and be able to check all that stuff out independently without having to search for it yourself. So I had a bit of difficulty with this game, just like finding tutorials and stuff uh, was just not very helpful. But I guess they just weren't like very descriptive. But I guess that's just because like of the nature of RenPy and
Hi
just like
there.
how I guess easy it is to really do once like you kind of just understand a couple of key things. So I was able to get a lot of like transitions, like feature changes. So there's like quite a few different facial expressions as well as audio cues. I only found it was really difficult for me to find audio cues, so I ended up finding one voice actress who did like all of these, and then I changed the pitch so that it sounded like two voices. So they're the exact same audio file. I just opened them up in FL Studio myself, and then changed them. So here, every time you come to a choice, it always has there's a hidden relationship meter, and every choice will either improve or degrade your relationship with the people that you're talking to. So for this first run, we're gonna go ahead and take the Misty storyline. Something I did do was all of these choices are not like super linear. They're not like very black and white. So I tried to make it so that you can't just like specifically choose a path, and I feel like it gives a little more like investment if you're not quite sure how the people are going to react to the things that you say. So even though she kind of responds negatively, this is actually the she feels like you trust her. This gives you more of a benefit to your relationship with Misty here. So you talk in the hallway a little bit. Time to head to the cafeteria. I'm just skipping through a little bit of this
Hi
like
there.
relatively quickly, just to kind of show the general gist of the game. So this is where you first meet Yumi. You're not quite sure what her name is, but um, she is asking you, can you show her around because she's new. So then you can either just blindly accept it, or you can ask her for her name. Either
Thank
way,
you.
obviously you get it, and then the game proceeds. I've got quite a few different scenes in the game. I want to say there's like 5 or 6 different backdrops, and they all have different music and stuff. And then I tried to do this a couple of times where you have both of the girls in the same place at once. So then your choices now affect both of the girls. So it can either be +1, -1, or +1, 0, like different ways like that. So I tried to include like different level. It's not always just a straight positive or straight negative. Sometimes it's like double positive, sometimes double negative, and sometimes like there's different layers of um, the way the points are assigned, so that you can have like quite a few different routes that you can take. There are a lot of different storylines to follow here. So
Okay.
again, we're taking the Misty route just for this first playthrough. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say all of the things that make her the happiest. Oh, excuse me, goodness. So yeah, then you come to the cafe. I've got quite a few like sound effects on things as well as different music throughout. So the intercoms have sound, the text messages have sound. a couple of other things, I believe, in addition to the voices of the characters themselves. So this scene right here is where the main character falls asleep in the coffee shop. You have a dream. The general gist of the story is Noah lost his dad in a car crash to a drunk driver. And so this is like his graduation year. He was like going to take a big trip with his dad, and that's not gonna happen now, obviously. And so he's just very upset about it. He's coming into manhood without that father to kind of help guide him. And so it's just, what does he do from here? Who does he lean on? Where does he go? Does he trust the friend that he's always had, or does he like look for exciting adventure and a change of pace and stuff like that? So there's like little tips or like hints all throughout the story that he's not happy where he is. He doesn't feel at home. And so ultimately my idea for the game is you have to choose at the very end of the game like what girl you go with, because like Missy she talks about needing to leave town to go to a school. She comes from like a more like poor family. There's a lot of like pressure on her to do well and like take care of her family going forward. And then Yumi has a similar story where she is actually a foreign exchange student because she's trying to like broaden her horizons and get like a better resume for college when she goes back. Let's see here. So I am just picking the best possible answers for Misty this entire time. I'm not going to be able to show all of the different routes that you can take because, like I said, there are quite a few different paths. But yeah, I tried to do different things where you have one-on-one time with different girls, as well as times where you're dealing with both of them. I didn't actually get to like fully round out my story. Just mainly it was like feature creep or like scope creep, I guess. I like started I wanted to be like consistent. I started putting a lot of these sound effects, transitions and all that stuff like earlier on in the game, and that was fine. And then when I started making more and more branching paths, I was like, man, I have to do all of that for every single path and every single, and writing all the different dialogue and stuff like that. So if I could change something, I would probably, just based on the amount of time that I'm given, I would like to continue working on this. But if I could have changed something just for the amount of time that I was given, I would have written out the complete story first in like a very basic format, and then went and kind of added the bells and whistles. But I kind of just got excited as I was going on, and like I was learning new things all the time, and so I wanted to implement those things in addition to the fact that I was using this as both my final and the other project. So I really just wanted to try to make this the single best version of like what it could be. So yeah, sometimes you have two options, sometimes you have three, but they always have like different effects.
What?
Either way, in this chapter, you are with one girl, and then the other one like comes and interrupts you. So like Yumi's gonna ask for a place to sit, and you can either tell her yes or no, but even if you tell her no, like Misty is like, no, please come sit down. And then you start talking about life, and this is like, it's like a relatively like sad game, I guess. Again, this just kind of, I was trying to like really like set so each color like matches the color of the eyes. I really wanted to like distinguish the two different girls, just because like I know not everyone gets like super invested. I've actually never played a visual novel in my life, and so I think that is part of the reason why I made it so like feature rich, was because I was looking at it more of as like a video game than a book, and so I wish that I would have had more experience with visual novels, because like since starting this project, like I've talked to my brother, he's a super big weeb, and he told me about some of the games that he's played, but I really wanted to, just like set the two apart and like kind of help divide the storyline and maybe just give the player a little more reason to get interested in each character. Ooh, got a mess up there. I'll have to fix that.
Hi there.
Let's see here.
You're cute.
Oh, okay. This right here is actually this would be the end of this chapter. Head to the outside of the building, and I just don't have the end statement there. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back to the main menu and start over. And this time we're gonna follow the Yumi storyline just to see the difference. I'll go ahead and like click
Hi
through
there.
quickly. I guess I could use the fast forward function, but that skips like extremely fast. As you can see there. Yeah. Let's see here.
Thank you.
So this time we're gonna take the Yumi route. This basically just skips us to the next question so that we can
Bye.
go ahead and choose. Let's see. I'm gonna real quickly pull up this prompt on my other monitor here and just see if there was, let's see, some questions to answer. Where it started. So yeah, this started off as like pretty basic. I went in and added dialogue like a couple of times. It did start off like I was saying before, like pretty basic, and then I started adding on to it as time went on. I just ultimately got like so swept up in adding stuff that I didn't have time to like fully finish out the story. But I think what I do have so far, like for anyone who plays through the game and gets like a little bit invested, I'd like some feedback. But I think what I have is a pretty good story, albeit like a little cliche. So this way, it starts off the same. You're still texting Misty, but this time Yumi happens to see you out. She talks about, she's up late, really late as well, because it's 2 in the afternoon her time. And so here you can either like initiate more conversation with her, or you can say you're getting ready to leave, which actually spawns a still pretty in-depth dialogue tree. Starts talking about your girlfriend, and then you can either not your girlfriend, and it's just like branching trees of questions. So again, this brings up another one. And so in this route, you actually like start off negatively by saying I have to leave, but then it gives you ample opportunity to regain and improve those points depending on how you go forward. So I started off negatively there and then ended up in positive route. So this time, instead of seeing Misty, you see Yumi, and then she asks you, rather than going to the cafeteria like you would go with Misty, she asks you to go to a cafe. So this is like, you can say you want to stay here. She doesn't give you an option. She's like, I know that's bull. And then you go and meet at the cafe instead. This just spawns whole other set of dialogue that you can have. I like to think like I'm a pretty funny guy, so I try to include like a lot of like jokes and just like comedic relief in what is otherwise like a pretty serious story. Like, I mean, it's about overwhelming pressure that young people face. It's about drinking and driving, a little bit of depression. There's like some heavier topics covered, and so like I wanted to add some comedic relief and just have like quite a few different angles that this story kind of hits from. So like this is another. It's good enough for Naruto. It's good enough for me. Like just quite a few different routes. So either way, this is like the last chapter. And this is kind of like where I ended things. Going forward, this would spawn some more dialogue and the game would continue on. But that's about what I've got so far. I'm really happy with the way that it came from like where it started to where it is now. It was pretty bare bones at first. I did have a pretty big issue that I still don't know what happened. It ended up working out because like these characters fit the art style better, but I had an entirely different set of characters beforehand that didn't quite match the art style. I did like the characters, but like they just didn't match the background. And so I spent a lot of time with those characters, and I even had to modify, just like I did with these guys as well, modify the characters in Photoshop because it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. But as I was working with that other set of sprites, randomly it just like stopped working, and rather than showing the characters, it did that thing where it did earlier where it just showed the outline and then showed the words of what it was supposed to be. And I could not for the life of me figure out what was going on there, and so ultimately I just took it as took it in stride, and I was like, okay, well, this is a good opportunity for me to switch out the sprites, change them to something else. So that was probably, I guess, like the most difficult part, even though it wasn't really like anything hard. It just was time consuming. It just kind of killed the flow a little bit. What I wish I would have added, just the roundabout, the end of the story, like the culmination. So ultimately, where I wanted to go after this, I wanted to have one more chapter where it's like the big game. The girls are there, and it's just another opportunity for some dialogue, choosing your path a little bit further. One chapter for like the prom or the final dance, and then one chapter that's like the culmination chapter. So overall, I've got it like more than half finished for where I would ultimately want it to go. Like I didn't want it to be like a super long thing. I do think I'll continue to work on this because all of these assets, like just as a general rule, when I'm working on something for school, I try to choose things that are fully available for commercial use, just in case it's something that I want to work on down the line. Not necessarily even just to sell, but just so that I don't run into any sort of complications for whatever reason. So I do plan to work on this game and release like a fully fleshed out version with the story wrapped up. But as it sits right now, it's over halfway to where I would ultimately want it to go. Yeah. So I guess that's that answer is pretty much all the prompts. That's pretty much what I have in the game so far, and I'm really proud of it. I've never played a visual novel to this day. I don't really like watch a lot of movies. The closest like experience I have with this would be A Night in the Woods. So this was my shot at something in this realm, and for what it is, I think it came out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it, and I do think this is something that I'll work on in the future. I think this was the best engine that I worked with all all semester, better than Love and all of those other things. So I think RenPy is a super cool program. Never heard of it before, but I will probably use it in the future, just depending on where my career takes me. But I do like it for what it is. I had a really fun time making this game, and I'll probably work on it even over the summer and try to release a full version before the next semester starts and I put everything back on the back burner again. But yeah, thanks for checking out my game, and I hope y'all have a good one. Thanks.